Well, let's hope we see that face from Wee Ross tomorrow a couple of times, and especially at the end of the game. But you know what? It is going to be a tough game, isn't it? As we discussed on the podcast last night, it's going to be a tough game today because of the fact that Motherwell will sit in, they will go on the low block, they will obviously try and hit on the break, try and frustrate, try and get that breakaway goal, and then obviously sit in and try and hold that lead. That's classic Motherwell. That's how they've played all season. You know, we look at their results, as this is something I featured on the pod last night, but you look at their results from their last few games. 1-0 loss to Kilmarnock, a 2-2 draw at St Johnstone, a 2-1 defeat to Hearts, a 1-1 draw at Parkhead. Slightly worrying, that is. Obviously, but Celtic are pretty awful this season. 3-3 draw at Dundee, a 3-0 defeat at Ross County, being the 1-3 result, a 1-1 draw against Motherwell, and then a 0-0 draw against St Mirren. They very much are a team that will stay in it, will stay right in it up until the very end. So that is what we're going to have to face today in this game. Well, anyway, guys, welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation, your everyday news channel. If you want to make sure that you never miss out on any of the great content, then please smash that sub. Well, we've got a few things to discuss. With today being match day ahead of the match today. Now, obviously, if you want to catch a bit more of a feature on the game today, go back and check out last night's podcast where we discussed all the things to do with the game. I'll recap some of that at the end of the pod anyway this morning. We're going to talk a little bit of Lawrence Shankland. Look, he's someone, look, I get it. He's someone that does divide the fan base. I 100% understand that. There are, like I said, about 50% of Rangers fans that want to sign Shankland. There's 40% of Rangers fans that don't want to sign Lawrence Shankland. And there's probably about 10% who genuinely couldn't give a monkeys. As long as it's a decent striker, they don't care. As long as that person comes in and scores goals for us, you know what? They're not fussed. They ain't bothered in the slightest. But there we go. We're going to talk a little bit about Lawrence Shankland. We're also going to talk about the Fabio Silva link, which is refusing to go away. You know, it's often that, these links that are agent-driven do die after a certain length of time. By the way, apologies if you can hear the rain. It is absolutely heaving it down here in the Midlands of England. We're also going to talk a little bit about Ross McAusland as well, about his role and how he can have a key role in today's game against Motherwell, obviously linking in to that game today. So let's start off by talking about this man, Lawrence Shankland. Now, Shankland is someone who has been heavily linked with Rangers. He is a Scottish striker, so obviously would help with the homegrown quota even. Many feel as well that he has a striking similarity to Chris Boyd. It's just, it is. He does, that he would be very good in the SPL, but perhaps not so good in Europe. And if you look back at, Chris Boyd's time at Rangers, we did use him extensively in the SPL and he regularly scored goals for us. We didn't use him as much in Europe, but that's just how it is. And that's why I think there is, very much talk about Rangers perhaps signing two strikers in this window. One permanently on a permanent basis and one for on loan. So, that would again would fit in with the Fabio Silva, Lawrence Shankland links. But I get that it's all paper talk. I get that it's speculation. And, the media know that we need a striker. Agents know that we need a striker. Fans know we need a striker. Teams know we need a striker. So it is going to be that names like Miovski, names like Shankland, names like Biereth, names like, all those names are going to be linked with us between now and the end of January. And like I said on the video the other day, it's every man, his dog, his hamsters, cats, brothers, goldfish. Everyone will be linked with us. Now, Shankland, like I said, is someone who he scored twice yesterday in Hearts 2-0 victory. He's certainly someone who has scored and done well this season. Now, let's look at his stats from this season. In the Scottish Premiership, he's made 18 appearances for Hearts. He scored 10 goals with 1 assist. That's 11 goal contributions in 18 games. He's played in 100% of their starting 11s. He's played 100% of their minutes, so it doesn't get taken off. And he is accountable for over half Hearts' goals. So you can see how key he is to their team and perhaps why they wouldn't want to let him go, especially if they are chasing that third place in the league. Going on to the League Cup now, he's made 3 appearances in the League Cup, scoring 2 goals, 1 assist. That's 3 goal contributions in 3 games. Played in 100% of the starting 11s, 89% of the starting minutes, and had a 43% goal contribution. In Europe, Shankland played in 4 games, scored 3 goals, 1 assist, 4 goal contributions in 4 European games. So does that tell a little bit of a story about him in Europe? Yes, the calibre opposition does have to be taken into account. He played 100% of starting 11s, 93% of the minutes, and was responsible for a mad 80% of Hearts' goals in Europe. So overall this season, the picture for Lawrence Shankland is 25 appearances, 15 goals, 3 assists. That's 18 goal contributions in 25 games, with a chance conversion rate of 19.5%, which is better than Kyogo's of 18.81 and Cyril Dessa's of 17.91%. So, he's clearly got the stats, he's got the percentages. A lot of the fear around Shankland is, could he cope in a Rangers team that comes up against the low block week in, week out? But I think the situation is this. Yes, we do come up against the low block week in, week out in the SPL, but we still create chances. And it's often the man on the end of those chances that doesn't take them. Now, Shankland is someone who does take chances. Like I said, his chance conversion rate is good. He's got the statistics from this season. If you go back across his history, he's always scored goals wherever he's gone. I think that the argument that he wouldn't score goals in this Rangers team is very spurious, in my opinion. You may differ in that opinion. That's fine. Personally, I do think Shankland is someone we should be looking at. The one thing that does put me off, obviously, is what Hearts will ask for him. Stephen Naismith didn't deny today in his post-match interview that there is a lot of speculation around Shankland. And for the first time in a long time, didn't really affirm that Hearts were confident of getting him to sign a new long-term contract either. So that was a very interesting development. It's certainly the case that has been the talk for a long time, that whenever it's been mentioned a move to one of the old firm or to somewhere else, it's been very much the Hearts have always affirmed that they're trying to get him tied down to a long-term contract. That wasn't affirmed today. And like I said, Naismith did admit there has been interest in him. But he said, then again, why would there not be interest in someone who scores as regularly as Lawrence? Like I said, personally, I do think Shankland would bring something to this team. It's not just his goal scoring, his all-round play is very good. He links play well. He brings others into play very well. He has developed a more all-round game. Now, I get the argument that he's 28 years old, and I get that there's no resale value. But as I said to you, the trading model is one that has to be applied flexibly. You cannot solely buy young players and try and win things with young players. That just does not work. There are teams that have tried that in England, and it doesn't work. It's just a disaster waiting to happen. You've constantly got players that need time to improve, time to get ready, time to be able to play. And that doesn't work for a team like Rangers, who are a team that needs success straight away. It's not, a thing that we can wait for. We can't go 2 seasons without winning a league or a cup and say, well, we're developing these players for 2 or 3 seasons' time. That's not how it works in Scotland. That's not how it works at Glasgow Rangers. So you do need a core of experience. So for me, that's why Shankland would be a good move. The other name that, of course, continually refuses to go away is Fabio Silva. Now, the rumour has it that if Fabio Silva was to come to Ibrox, it would be on loan. It's felt that because of his lack of opportunities at Wolves, he suffered a real blow in his confidence. And a manager like Philippe Clement could be very good for that confidence, especially if when you look at the work that he's done with the likes of Cyril Dessers, for example. So Silva, has a very good record for Portugal's under-21s and is one of those young players you would need to develop. He scored 10 goals in 19 under-21 internationals. He had a successful spell at PSV on loan, who was the head of scouting when he was there? Niels Koppen. So look, there is a link there, and that's, I think, why this link has come about, because of Niels Koppen's impending arrival at Ibrox. So there could be some legs in this story solely for the Koppen side of it, that Fabio Silva could genuinely be a loan target for Rangers. I do think it will be a loan. I do think it would be a loan target. I don't think it would be anywhere near a permanent move. I think Wolves would be wanting to use this move to help put him in the shop window to sell him on in the summer. Yeah, like I said, they paid 35 million for him. I very much doubt that Rangers could afford a player for 35 million pounds. He does have a lot of promise. Unfortunately, he hasn't scored a lot of goals recently, which obviously is a concern when you look back at the record of signing Dessers and Lammers, who Lammers is still looking awful. Dessers is improving, which is a benefit for the club. So look, they're the kind of 2 striker names that have been linked at the moment, but I'm sure before January there will be a whole host of other names brought into the melting pot by the media, by fans, by fan media. And as Philippe Clement said, that obviously, conversations have been had about January, but as soon as they sign someone, the media will be the first to know, of course. But we do wait. But, like I said, personally, Shankland, I think, is a player that if we can get hold of for a reasonable fee, not a ridiculous fee, which carries a Rangers tax, which often does, I do think he'd be well worth a punt. And I think could make a big difference on the run-in to the end of the season. Okay, so let me know, like I said, let me know what you think about those two strikers. Either of them, none of them, any other names? RM, I know, Biere, I've heard it. I think he will be a very good move as well on loan if he is Arsenal going to swap that loan. I don't know what the terms of his loan agreement are. I don't know what the intentions are with that. And I certainly hope that he has an absolute stinker of a performance tomorrow if he plays. Let's talk about a good young player who's coming through at the club. Now, Ross McAusland is someone who, since he burst into the first team, has had rave reviews, both from fans, fan media, and pundits alike. And, Ross, for me, has really done a job. He's someone who's come in and played with a youthful exuberance, with a talent, with a real desire to get at people, to run at people, to make things happen. And, as Rangers fans, we love players like that that want to make things happen, that wanted to excite the crowd, that want to get fans off their seats. That's certainly, why we all kind of fell in love with Todd Cantwell last season, although obviously that has diminished a little bit this season given Todd's form. But Ross McAusland, I think, is the perfect weapon at times to try and break down that low block. Another way of breaking down the low block is obviously using the width, and it is getting wingers to go past players and take players out of the defensive setup, which is certainly something that Ross McAusland could do. Also, that burst beyond the striker and burst into the box with their pace and their evasiveness and get on the end of chances that are created. Again, something that Ross does. Now, I know that Philippe Clement talked very much about managing Ross's minutes, but I think given how he's playing, given the confidence that he's showing at the moment in time, I think it would be a mistake for me to manage to not put him in the squad, not put him in the team, today against Motherwell. I understand, obviously, we have 4 games coming up, but at times if you stumble onto a winning formula that is genuinely working, you stick with it, you play it, you keep it going because it works. And as well, we have that winter break. There's also the fact that we have an ever-lengthening injury list. As I revealed on the pod last night, I mean, you look at our injury list and you look at the return dates on some of those players, and, it's all next year. There's no one due back, before the winter break. Roof, early January, unknown, but that's still not confirmed whether it's early January. Lundstrom, unknown, early January. Cifuentes, muscle injury, early January. Tom Lawrence, muscle injury, early January. Danilo Pereira, we know that late January is wrong. It's April. He's due back. Ryan Jack, unknown. Speculation, early January. Nicholas Raskin, early January. Ankle injury. Steve Davis, again, early January, possible with that knee injury. So, we know that there is a massive injury list. We know that midfield is a huge issue, and I think is something along with striker, which again is a huge issue that we have to address in January. Look at the situation we've got in, that Cyril Dessers is realistically our only centre forward. I don't think we can use Abdallah Sima there because I think it would take too much away from the left side. He is a player who works back. He is a player who provides that width. He's a player who creates from the left, scores goals from the left. And I just think taking him out of that position would actually hurt us more than benefit us by putting him through the middle. Matondo is one that's played through the middle, obviously, in Belgium, did very well, something Philippe Clement saw. He's an option. But again, at the moment, his form is not good because he's coming back from that injury. So we only have Dessers. Then you look at the midfield disaster. I mean, you look at those defensive midfielders that are currently out. And if you were to say, the first 4 names that you would put in on a depth chart in that centre midfield role, you would have Lundstrom, Jack, Raskin, and Cifuentes all out, injured, all gone. Philippe Clement has thought outside the box and he has brought Dujon Sterling in. And Sterling, I think, has done a really good job. And I think he should and probably will start against Motherwell today. Alongside him, as I know this guy's played very, very little football, this season due to injury and due to a whole host of other reasons. But for me, Kieran Dow has to start and play at least an hour against Motherwell. And I think there's a possibility to rest him against Ross County and perhaps play King to keep Dow ready and fit and good to go for the Old Firm game on the 30th, which is looking increasingly doubtful that anyone like Lundstrom, Jack or Raskin will be back. Given the fact that Dow is a midfielder. Now, I know he is preferably for him an attacking midfielder or a wide player, but he did demonstrate for me on Wednesday night that he can play in that role alongside a 6. He can be an 8. That is certainly, something that Philippe Clement has sort of envisaged for him. And one thing that gives me a lot of confidence is that it seems that whenever Philippe Clement has asked the player to play out of position. Unlike Michael Beale, he has given him precise instructions on what he needs to do, where he needs to go, how he needs to play that role. So when that player is going out there, as Clement said, there will be no surprises. There will be no unexpected moments. He will know what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. And I think that's certainly something he has done with Dujon Sterling, with Kieran Dow. And I think even we could see with Leon King, who could be a possibility to start on Wednesday if we rest Kieran Dow for that game. I do think, however, as I said in an earlier video, we do need to see on the bench at least one of these two, Bailey Rice and Cole McKinnon. And I think at least one out of the two of them needs to get some minutes at Motherwell, obviously providing the game is going well. Given our paucity of midfield options, the fact we've got those 3 games remaining before the winter break, the fact that, like I said, that we will see no Jack, no Lundstrom, no Cifuentes, and no Raskin before early January, at the very earliest, I think there is a real need to try and bring through some of these youth products and at least have them there as options. I think people do say, and perhaps rightly so, how do you know they're going to be ready? But that's the question. Unless you actually throw them in there and give them a go, how do you know they're going to be ready? And I think one of the things you've got to think of is, if I'd said to you last season, which youth player is most likely to be playing regularly in the first team this season, I think a lot of you would have said Bailey Rice. You may have said Zach Lovelace. I very much doubt that Ross McAusland would have been top of that list. So it could be that one of these guys, like an Aaron Lyle, for example, comes through and surprises you. Today's game, like I said, will be a tough one. They will sit in. They will make it difficult for us. They will try and be, as hard to break down as is humanly possible. And this is something I shared on the pod last night. If you look at our record at Fir Park, we've played 46 games there. They've won 3. We've won 36. There's been 7 draws. Now, like I said, I would be a whole lot more confident if we were going in with 2 fit central midfielders to play in front of that back 4. The back 4 will pretty much, I think, be at full strength with Butland in goal, Tav, Goldson, Balogun and Barisic, I think, will come back into the team because I think Ridvan was a bit poor on Wednesday night. I think Sterling and Dow will be the starters in front of the back 4, and the 3 behind the striker, I think, should be McAusland, Cantwell and Seba. And again, striker, well, you've got no option. It has to be Cyril Dessers because there are no other strikers to choose from. That is what we're looking at. And I think, for me, these last 4 games that we go into today against Motherwell, Wednesday against Ross County, Saturday, against Celtic, and then obviously the game against Killy, who are in form, banging form at the moment, but we do owe them. It's just a case of 3 points and up the road. If we don't get performances, it doesn't matter as long as we win these 4 games. It's not about our entertaining football. It's at this stage with all the players we have out, it's about getting the job done. And I think that is something Philippe Clement will have these boys ready to do tomorrow. My prediction is 2-1 Rangers. That's what I'm going for. Dessers and Cantwell to score. I don't think it'll be easy. I don't think it'll be a spectacle of flowing football, but I do think we'll have just enough to overcome Motherwell. Well, guys, thank you so much for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation. And as always, guys, if you can subscribe to the channel, that'd be absolutely fantastic. If you want to support the channel, smash the super thanks and donate a little bit of money towards the channel, especially with it being Christmas, guys. And tonight, remember, the post-match podcast is on. Your chance to give your opinion on the game at 7:35. Come and join me for that. And finally, guys, on the way out, 2 things I always ask of you. Number 1, smash the like. And number 2, always remember, never forget, we are the people.